Hello, I'm Dr. Michael Carter. Before we begin, I want to be clear. Everything I share in this series is for educational purposes only. Always work with your own physician before making changes to your diet, medications, or health routine. That said, what you're about to learn could genuinely change your quality of life. Let me ask you something honest. When was the last time you walked to the mailbox without your legs feeling heavy? When did cold feet stop being something you just ignored? If you're over 60, there's a good chance those sensations have quietly been getting worse, and you may have been told it's just again. That answer isn't good enough, and it isn't entirely accurate. Here's what's actually happening. After the age of 60, the human body begins producing significantly less nitric oxide, a molecule your blood vessels depend on to stay open, relaxed, and flexible. Nitric oxide acts like a signal to your arteries, telling them to widen so blood can flow freely all the way down to your toes. When that signal weakens, your vessels gradually stiffen and narrow. Blood struggles to reach your feet and legs. Circulation declines. At the same time, in the nerves of your extremities, a quieter crisis may be unfolding. Your peripheral nerves, the long fibers running from your spine down through your legs to your feet, depend on a protective coating called the myelin sheath. Think of it like the insulation around an electrical wire. Without it, nerve signals misfire, cross, and short circuit. You feel burning, tingling, numbness, sometimes all three at once. These two problems, declining circulation and peripheral nerve stress, are deeply connected. Poor blood flow means your nerves aren't getting enough oxygen and nutrients to stay healthy. Inflamed nerves make circulation worse by disrupting the vessels around them. They feed each other, and if left unaddressed, they compound. Over the next 20 parts of this series, I'm going to show you the science behind what's happening inside your legs right now, and I'm going to rank the most evidence-supported foods and drinks that may help support circulation and nerve health. We'll talk about what works, what doesn't, and critically, what to watch out for. Every claim I make will be grounded in published research, and I'll be honest when the evidence is still emerging. This is not a cure. This is not a replacement for your doctor's advice, but it is information you deserve to have. Let's begin. If there is one molecule at the center of circulatory health after 60, it's nitric oxide, and most people have never heard of it. Nitric oxide is a tiny gas molecule produced primarily by the inner lining of your blood vessels, a single cell layer called the endothelium. When the endothelium is healthy and producing adequate nitric oxide, it signals the smooth muscle surrounding your arteries to relax. The vessels widen, blood flows more easily, pressure drops, oxygen and nutrients reach your extremities. Your legs feel warm, alive, and mobile. Now here's the problem. As we age, endothelial function declines. The cells become less responsive, more prone to oxidative stress, and less efficient at producing nitric oxide. Research published in peer-reviewed journals, including work from the University of Exeter involving older adults aged 56 to 71, has confirmed that nitric oxide availability decreases measurably with age. This decline contributes directly to age-associated vascular dysfunction, higher blood pressure, and reduced circulation to the limbs. The scientific process works like this. Dietary compounds, particularly inorganic nitrates found in certain vegetables, enter your mouth and interact with bacteria on your tongue. Those bacteria convert nitrates into nitrites. When the nitrites reach your stomach, your body's chemistry converts them into nitric oxide. That nitric oxide enters your bloodstream, reaches your blood vessel walls, and triggers relaxation. Vessels open up. Flow improves. This pathway is well documented. It's called the nitrate-nitrite-nitric oxide pathway, and it has been the subject of hundreds of controlled studies over the past 2 decades. But here's something important I want you to understand. This pathway is not a magic switch. The response varies between individuals. It depends on your oral microbiome, your baseline vascular health, whether you're taking certain medications, and how consistently you consume nitrate-rich foods. No single food will correct decades of vascular aging overnight. What the research does support is this. A consistent dietary pattern rich in nitrate-containing vegetables appears to support endothelial function, modestly reduce blood pressure in older adults, and improve markers of vascular health over time. In the coming parts, I'll show you exactly which foods carry the most evidence and how to use them correctly. For millions of people over 60, the first sign of peripheral nerve stress isn't dramatic. It's a subtle burning sensation at the bottom of the feet at night. A feeling like the sheets are too hot, too much. A tingling that starts in the toes and slowly climbs. You mention it, tell your doctor, maybe get told it could be circulation or diabetes related or just age. And life continues. But those sensations are your nerves communicating, and the message is worth paying attention to. Peripheral neuropathy, nerve damage affecting the extremities, has several well-established causes in adults over 60. High blood sugar is the most common. When blood glucose remains elevated over time, glucose molecules attach to proteins in the nerve fibers through a process called glycation. This chemical reaction gradually damages the nerve's ability to transmit signals properly. The nerves begin misfiring. They send pain signals when there's no injury. They interpret ordinary touch as heat or burning. You don't have to be diabetic for this to occur. Research suggests that individuals with fasting blood sugar in the pre-diabetic range, between 100 and 125 milligrams per deciliter, may already be experiencing early glycation-related stress on their peripheral nerves. A second major contributor is vitamin B12 deficiency, which is common in older adults. B12 is essential for maintaining the myelin sheath. Without adequate B12, that protective insulation breaks down. And here's the compounding factor. Several common medications, including the widely prescribed diabetes, drug metformin, and common acid-reducing medications, can significantly impair B12 absorption. Many people over 60 are unknowingly deficient. Systemic inflammation is the third piece. As we age, our bodies tend to produce more pro-inflammatory compounds, molecules that circulate in the bloodstream and can damage vulnerable tissues, including nerve fibers. When inflammation is poorly controlled over years and decades, nerve tissue pays a price. Understanding these root causes matters because it shifts the conversation from simply managing pain symptoms to asking better questions. What can I do to reduce the underlying inflammation? How can I support better blood sugar control? Am I getting the nutrients my nerves actually need? Those are the questions this series is built to help answer. Here's something that doesn't get discussed nearly enough. Circulation problems and peripheral nerve problems are not two separate conditions quietly coexisting. They are deeply interwoven. What damages one tends to damage the other. What supports one tends to support the other. Your peripheral nerves, including the long nerve fibers running all the way down your legs to your feet, don't have their own direct blood supply the way larger organs do. They depend on networks of tiny capillaries, the smallest blood vessels in your body, to deliver oxygen and nutrients, and to carry away waste products. When circulation in those capillaries is compromised, the nerves go hungry. Starved of oxygen, they malfunction. Over time, they sustain structural damage. At the same time, the nerves themselves play a role in regulating blood vessel tone. Healthy peripheral nerves help coordinate the dilation and contraction of small vessels in the skin and underlying tissue. When those nerves are damaged, vascular regulation in the extremities becomes less precise. Circulation suffers further. The two systems pull each other down. This cycle is particularly well documented in people with diabetic complications. The combination of high blood sugar, reduced nitric oxide production, damaged small vessels, and inflamed nerve fibers creates a compounding problem that accelerates faster than either condition would in isolation. But here's the encouraging part. The same lifestyle interventions that support vascular health also tend to benefit peripheral nerves. Foods rich in nitrates improve blood flow to the tiny capillaries feeding nerve tissue. Anti-inflammatory compounds reduce the inflammatory load attacking both vessel walls and nerve fibers. Antioxidants protect both endothelial cells and the myelin sheath from oxidative stress. This is why this series addresses both together. The ranking of foods and drinks you'll see in the coming parts was built with both systems in mind. We're not just chasing numbers on a blood pressure cuff. We're trying to support the underlying environment that allows both your vessels and your nerves to function as they're meant to. We are about to get into the heart of this series, a ranked list of 10 drinks and 4 foods grounded in published research that may genuinely support circulation and nerve health after 60. But before I share a single ranking, I want to take a moment for something I consider more important than any of the science that follows. If you're watching this channel, there's a real chance you or someone you love is dealing with cold feet, leg heaviness, burning sensations at night, or a growing concern about mobility and independence. I understand that, and I want to be honest with you about what this information can and cannot do. This series is educational. It is based on peer-reviewed research, and I will cite specific studies as we go. But nutritional science, particularly in the area of dietary compounds and vascular function, is a field with genuine complexity. Study results vary. Individual responses differ. What shows measurable benefit in a controlled trial may produce more modest results in real-world daily life. Nothing in this series is a substitute for your relationship with your physician. If you are on blood pressure medication, blood thinners, diabetes medication, or any prescription therapy related to your cardiovascular or neurological health, please speak with your doctor before making significant dietary changes. Some of the foods and drinks we'll discuss can interact with medications or affect conditions in ways that require medical oversight. So here is my challenge to you before we continue. If you haven't had a conversation with your doctor specifically about your circulation or any nerve symptoms you've noticed, schedule that appointment. Bring a notepad. Ask directly about your B12 levels and your inflammatory markers. These are specific, testable things. Now, if you're finding this series helpful, this is also the moment to do something quick. Hit the like button. Subscribe to this channel. And if someone in your life is dealing with cold feet, heavy legs, or burning sensations, share this video with them. You may give them something their doctor hasn't had time to explain. Let's continue. Over the next several parts, I'll be presenting two separate but connected lists. The first is a ranking of 10 drinks by their potential to support circulation and nitric oxide production in adults over 60. The second is a ranking of 4 foods by their potential to reduce peripheral nerve inflammation. These rankings are not based on anecdote or tradition. They're based on published research, and I want to be transparent about how I evaluated each one. The primary criteria I used were, first, the quality and quantity of human clinical trials. An ingredient supported by multiple randomized controlled trials in older adults carries more weight than one backed only by animal studies or cell culture research. Second, I looked at the mechanism. Does the research explain clearly why and how this compound is expected to help? Third, I considered the effect size. How large and meaningful is the measured benefit in real subjects? Fourth, I weighed the risk profile. Does this food or drink have known side effects, medication interactions, or contraindications that should be disclosed? I also want to be clear about what these rankings are not. They are not a prescription, they're not a guarantee, and they are not a competition against pharmaceutical treatment. Several of the foods and drinks in the lower positions of these rankings have real, meaningful benefits. They simply show smaller or less consistent effects than those higher up. Where the science is still emerging, particularly for some of the nerve-focused foods, I will say so explicitly. Research on natural compounds and peripheral neuropathy in humans is still maturing. Animal studies are promising. Some early human trials are encouraging, but we are not yet at the level of large-scale, long-term human trials for every compound on this list. With all of that said, I believe this information is genuinely useful and worth sharing. These are foods. They are not exotic. They are largely affordable, accessible, and safe for most people as part of a balanced diet. The science supporting their vascular and anti-inflammatory properties is real, even if the final word on some of them is still being written. Let's get into it. We begin at the foundation. These 3 drinks make the list because they have genuine supporting evidence for cardiovascular health, but each has meaningful limitations that place them in the lower tier. Drink number 10, plain water. Proper hydration is non-negotiable for circulation. Dehydration causes blood to thicken, which increases the effort required to move it through your vessels. A study in the Journal of Applied Physiology found that adequate hydration improved blood flow modestly in older adults. But water alone does not trigger vasodilation. It contains no nitrates, no anti-inflammatory compounds, no flavonoids. It is the baseline your body needs, not the intervention that changes the equation. Drink 8 glasses daily, but understand it as the foundation, not the solution. Drink number 9, Green tea. Green tea contains catechins, plant compounds that have shown modest improvements in endothelial function in research studies. Some trials have recorded small improvements in what researchers call flow-mediated dilation, a measure of how well arteries relax in response to increased blood flow. The effect is real but gradual, building over 8 to 12 weeks of consistent daily consumption. There is also an important preparation note. Water that is too hot destroys a significant portion of the beneficial catechins. Steep green tea at no more than 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Green tea also contains caffeine, which in some individuals can have a mild vasoconstrictive effect that partially counteracts the benefit. A useful addition to your routine, but not a primary intervention. Drink number 8. Tart cherry juice. Tart cherries contain anthocyanins, compounds that have been shown to reduce arterial stiffness and modestly improve blood flow in research involving older adults. Published work in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found blood flow improvements after 12 weeks of regular consumption. However, tart cherry juice is high in sugar, typically around 30 grams per cup, which can affect blood sugar levels and create complications for people with diabetes or prediabetes. If you choose to use it, dilute heavily and consume in the morning. The sugar content is a real consideration that prevents this from ranking higher. We move now into a more interesting tier, drinks where the evidence for circulatory benefit becomes more substantial, though each still carries important caveats. Drink number 7. Pomegranate juice. Pomegranate juice contains unique antioxidants, called punicolagens, that appear to protect nitric oxide from breaking down too quickly in the bloodstream. Research has shown pomegranate juice may improve blood flow modestly in older adults and has shown interesting effects on arterial health over longer study periods. The mechanism, preserving existing nitric oxide rather than simply boosting its production, is distinct from most other foods on this list. The challenge is practical. Pomegranate juice is expensive and high in natural sugar, similar to tart cherry juice. Buy pure versions with no added sugars, dilute them, and consume in moderation. Drink number 6. Cocoa drink. Pure unsweetened cocoa powder contains flavonols, a class of plant compounds with meaningful evidence for cardiovascular benefit. A meta-analysis examining dozens of controlled studies found that cocoa flavonols improved flow-mediated dilation measurably, and some research suggests effects begin within a few hours of consumption. The key word is pure. Commercially prepared hot chocolate packets are typically high in sugar and low in flavonols. Use unsweetened cocoa powder mixed into warm water or milk, approximately 20 to 30 grams daily. Sweeten only with a non-sugar option if needed. This is a legitimately effective choice when prepared correctly. Drink number 5. Watermelon juice. Watermelon is one of the richest dietary sources of an amino acid called L-citrulline. Your body converts L-citrulline into L-arginine and then into nitric oxide. Studies have found that watermelon juice supports arterial function and may reduce blood pressure meaningfully in older adults. The glycemic load, while present, is offset by watermelon's high water content. The practical limitation is availability. Fresh watermelon juice is seasonal in most climates, and the processed versions often lose beneficial content. If you have access to fresh watermelon, this is a genuinely valuable option. We are now in the upper tier. These 3 drinks have strong evidence, meaningful mechanisms, and real-world results that have impressed researchers studying cardiovascular function in older populations. Drink number 4. Hibiscus tea. Hibiscus is one of the most under-recognized plants in evidence-based cardiovascular nutrition. The dried flowers contain organic acids and anthocyanins that have been shown in clinical research to lower blood pressure and improve blood flow. A controlled 6-week study found that regular hibiscus tea consumption was associated with meaningful reductions in systolic blood pressure. It is inexpensive, widely available, and relatively easy to incorporate into a daily routine. Steep 2 bags in hot water for 10 minutes. Drink twice daily, morning and evening. A critical caution: hibiscus can lower blood pressure significantly. If you are already on antihypertensive medication, discuss this with your doctor before regular use. Drink number 3. Celery juice. Celery is exceptionally rich in naturally occurring nitrates. When you consume celery juice, those nitrates begin the conversion pathway, Mouth bacteria convert nitrates to nitrites. Stomach acid converts nitrites to nitric oxide, and blood vessels respond. The nitrate content of a 16-ounce glass of celery juice is substantial. Research supports dietary nitrates from vegetables as an effective approach to improving vascular function, and some athletes have used celery as a natural performance support for this reason. Drink it on an empty stomach, made fresh with 4 to 5 large stalks. The taste is earthy and acquired, but for circulation support the evidence is solid. A juicer is required. Drink number 2. Arugula smoothie. Arugula is among the highest natural sources of dietary nitrates per gram of any commonly consumed vegetable. 2 cups of arugula deliver a substantial nitrate load that, through the established conversion pathway, can meaningfully raise nitric oxide levels in the bloodstream. Blending arugula with fruit masks the peppery flavor while preserving the nitrate content. A simple combination. 2 cups arugula, 1 cup blueberries, half a banana, 1 cup unsweetened almond milk. Drink immediately after blending, as nitrates degrade with air exposure. Consistent daily use appears to produce progressive improvements in circulation over time. The top position goes to beetroot juice, and the research behind this ranking is among the most robust of any food or drink in this entire series. Beets are one of the most concentrated natural sources of dietary nitrates available. A single 8-ounce glass of pure beetroot juice delivers approximately 300 to 400 milligrams of inorganic nitrate, among the highest of any commonly consumed food or beverage. This nitrate load enters the nitrate-nitrite-nitric oxide conversion pathway and produces measurable increases in circulating nitric oxide. Research involving adults in the 50 to 70 age range has found that acute consumption of beetroot juice produces a greater increase in plasma nitrite, the marker of nitric oxide availability, in older adults compared to younger adults. This is a meaningful finding. The population most likely to benefit appears to respond most strongly. A 2024 study from the University of Exeter found that regular beetroot juice consumption reshaped the oral microbiome in older adults, increasing the beneficial bacteria responsible for nitrate conversion and leading to measurable blood pressure reductions over 2 weeks. This effect was not seen in younger participants. Research has also found that beetroot juice consumption is associated with reduced arterial stiffness under resting conditions, which eases the workload on the heart and improves blood delivery to the legs. Studies involving older adults with renal dysfunction showed that beetroot juice supplementation increased endothelial function and reduced oxidative stress markers. Here is how to use it. 8 ounces of pure beetroot juice, consumed in the morning on an empty stomach. Buy pure pressed beet juice with no added ingredients. You can also juice for medium beets fresh if you have a juicer. A note: your urine may turn pink or red after consumption. This is called beeturia and is harmless, occurring in roughly 10 to 15% of people. If you have a history of kidney stones, consult your doctor first, as beets contain oxalates. For most adults over 60 looking to support circulatory health through diet, beetroot juice is the most evidence-supported choice available. Having the rankings is one thing. Actually building a sustainable daily habit around them is another. This part is about implementation, because consistency matters far more than any individual drink. Let's start with what a practical daily approach looks like for most adults over 60. The foundation is beetroot juice every morning. 8 ounces. On an empty stomach, before breakfast. This is your anchor habit. It delivers the strongest nitrate load, at the time of day when your body is most prepared to absorb it, and it begins the nitric oxide conversion process before you've eaten anything that might interfere. One critical note about medication timing. If you take any morning medications, speak with your doctor about the appropriate gap between your medication and your beetroot juice. Blood pressure medications in particular may interact with the vasodilatory effect of high nitrate intake. This is not a reason to avoid beetroot juice. It is a reason to have the conversation. In the afternoon, add either hibiscus tea or celery juice. You do not need both. Choose the one you'll actually stick with. Hibiscus tea is easier, cheaper, and requires no equipment. Celery juice delivers a stronger nitrate hit, but requires a juicer and some preparation tolerance for its flavor. Either one provides meaningful additional support. 2 to 3 times per week, consider rotating in the arugula smoothie as a meal replacement or morning addition. The high nitrate content of arugula on top of your regular beetroot juice creates a meaningful cumulative effect over time. One thing most people overlook: do not use antibacterial mouthwash immediately after consuming any nitrate-rich drink. The bacteria in your mouth are essential to the first step of the nitrate conversion pathway. Using mouthwash right after drinking beetroot juice or celery juice kills those bacteria and significantly reduces your body's ability to convert the nitrates into nitric oxide. This is not a minor point. It is a key reason some people try these drinks and feel little benefit. Track how your legs feel after 2 weeks. Temperature, heaviness, cramping, and walking endurance are all useful markers. Your experience is data. We turn now to the second half of this series: peripheral nerve health. If you've been following along, you already understand why circulation and nerve health are connected. But I want to give peripheral neuropathy the specific attention it deserves, because for many people over 60, it is the more immediately distressing of the two conditions. Peripheral neuropathy is not a single disease. It is a category of conditions in which the peripheral nervous system, the nerves outside your brain and spinal cord, becomes damaged or dysfunctional. The peripheral nerves carry sensory signals from your extremities to your brain and motor signals from your brain back to your muscles. When they're healthy, this communication is seamless. When they're damaged, the signals become unreliable. Pain is sent when there is no injury. Touch is misinterpreted as burning. Temperature perception becomes distorted. The feet are typically affected first and most severely, for a simple anatomical reason. The nerve fibers running to your feet are the longest in your body. Longer fibers are more metabolically demanding to maintain, more vulnerable to nutritional deficiencies, and more exposed to the cumulative effects of poor circulation. This is why the burning and tingling of peripheral neuropathy almost always begins in the feet before progressing upward. The most important thing I want you to understand about peripheral neuropathy is this: it exists on a spectrum. Early-stage nerve stress, characterized by intermittent tingling, occasional burning at night, mild temperature sensitivity, is very different from advanced neuropathy with persistent severe pain and significant functional impairment. The earlier the intervention, the greater the potential for meaningful benefit. Waiting until symptoms are severe before addressing the underlying causes limits what any dietary or lifestyle approach can realistically do. Research consistently shows that addressing inflammation, blood sugar control, B vitamin status, and vascular health in the early stages of nerve symptoms produces better outcomes than addressing only the pain after nerve damage has progressed. If your feet are beginning to speak to you, this is the right time to listen. The food rankings in this section are evaluated against a specific question: which commonly available foods have the strongest evidence for reducing peripheral nerve inflammation and supporting nerve health in adults over 60? As I mentioned earlier, I want to be particularly honest about the state of the science here. The research on dietary compounds and peripheral neuropathy in humans is genuinely promising, but still maturing. Many of the most compelling studies are preclinical, meaning they were conducted in animal models or cell cultures, not yet in large-scale human trials. Where that's the case, I'll say so. The 4 foods on this list earned their places because the combination of their biological mechanisms, early clinical evidence, and safety profiles is stronger than any alternative I could identify. The criteria I used: first, evidence of a meaningful anti-inflammatory effect in research involving human participants or strong preclinical data with a clear biological mechanism. Second, specific evidence of benefit to nerve tissue, not just general anti-inflammatory activity. Third, practical accessibility, foods that most adults over 60 can incorporate without exotic ingredients or equipment. Fourth, safety. Are there known risks or medication interactions that should be disclosed? None of these 4 foods are exotic. You have heard of all of them. They are available in any grocery store. They are affordable, and they all have real peer-reviewed research behind their inclusion here. I also want to make something clear before we get into the rankings. These foods are not replacements for prescribed neuropathy treatment. If your doctor has recommended medication for nerve pain, please follow that guidance. What these foods offer is nutritional support for the underlying biological environment, reducing the inflammatory load, supporting the myelin sheath, improving blood flow to nerve tissue in ways that work alongside medical treatment, not instead of it. With that foundation set, let's look at each one. Number 4. On the nerve food list is a category rather than a single ingredient: dark leafy greens. Spinach, kale, Swiss chard collard greens, arugula, and mustard greens all qualify with darker varieties, generally offering a higher concentration of beneficial nutrients. The primary mechanism here is magnesium. Dark leafy greens are among the richest dietary sources of magnesium available, and research has consistently found that adults with peripheral neuropathy tend to have lower magnesium levels than healthy controls. Magnesium plays a direct role in nerve cell membrane stability. It helps regulate the electrical activity of neurons, reducing the tendency toward the spontaneous misfiring that produces burning and tingling sensations. Studies have found that increasing dietary magnesium in people with nerve symptoms is associated with measurable improvements in comfort within weeks of consistent consumption. Magnesium plays a direct role in nerve cell membrane stability. It helps regulate the electrical activity of neurons, reducing the tendency toward the spontaneous misfiring that produces burning and tingling sensations. Studies have found that increasing dietary magnesium in people with nerve symptoms is associated with measurable improvements in comfort within weeks of consistent consumption. The second mechanism is B vitamins. Dark leafy greens are meaningful sources of folate and vitamin B6, both of which participate in nerve maintenance. Recall that the myelin sheath, the protective coating around your nerve fibers, depends on adequate B vitamins to remain intact. While B12 must typically be obtained from animal sources or supplements, folate and B6 from greens contribute to the overall B vitamin environment your nerves need. Third, some dark leafy greens, particularly spinach, contain alpha-lipoic acid, an antioxidant that has been used as a prescription treatment for diabetic neuropathy in parts of Europe. The evidence for alpha-lipoic acid as a nerve protective compound in humans is among the strongest of any natural compounds studied in this context. The practical recommendation is simple: 2 cups of raw, dark leafy greens daily, or 1 cup cooked. Combine them with a healthy fat, olive oil, avocado, or nuts. Because many of their beneficial compounds are fat-soluble and absorb significantly better in the presence of dietary fat. Leafy greens are the foundation of nerve nutritional support. Walnuts earn the 3rd position on the nerve food list because of a combination of properties that no other common nut or seed matches in the research literature. The primary active compound is alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. Alpha-linolenic acid reduces the production of pro-inflammatory compounds in the body by competing with inflammatory pathways at the biochemical level. Studies have found that regular walnut consumption is associated with reduced inflammatory markers, including C-reactive protein, a key measure of systemic inflammation that directly affects nerve tissue. Research on walnut consumption and nerve health in diabetic subjects has shown improvements in nerve function tests and reported reductions in the intensity of burning pain over 12 weeks of daily intake. Walnuts also contain polyphenols, specifically allagitannins and flavonoids, that protect nerve tissue from oxidative stress. Your nerve fibers are vulnerable to free radical damage, particularly when circulation is compromised and inflammation is high. Walnut polyphenols neutralize those free radicals before they can accelerate nerve fiber deterioration. There is a 3rd benefit that is particularly relevant for people with nerve symptoms related to blood sugar. Walnuts improve insulin sensitivity. The healthy fats in walnuts slow glucose absorption and reduce blood sugar spikes after meals. Better blood sugar control means less glycation damage to nerve proteins over time. This makes walnuts uniquely useful for people whose nerve symptoms have a blood sugar component. The dose is 1 ounce daily, approximately 14 walnut halves. Buy whole walnuts and store them in the refrigerator or freezer, as the omega-3 fats oxidize quickly at room temperature. Chopped or prepackaged walnuts exposed to air for extended periods may have degraded fats that are actually pro-inflammatory. Freshness matters. A small handful as a snack or added to oatmeal or a salad is all that's needed. Consistent daily intake is more important than the specific form. Fresh ginger earns the 2nd position on the nerve food list because its anti-inflammatory action works through multiple biological pathways simultaneously, a characteristic that makes it particularly effective for conditions as complex as peripheral neuropathy. The active compounds in fresh ginger, primarily gingerols, and their heat-modified forms called shogaols, inhibit several distinct inflammatory mechanisms at once. They suppress the activity of COX-2 enzymes, which are involved in prostaglandin production and pain signaling. They reduce inflammatory cytokine production. They block the activation of NF-kappa B, the central molecular switch that triggers the inflammatory cascade throughout the body. And they inhibit a separate class of inflammatory molecules called leukotrienes that contribute to chronic pain states. Clinical research on ginger and neuropathic pain has produced encouraging results. Studies examining ginger in patients with nerve-related pain have found meaningful reductions in reported pain intensity and improvements in functional measures after 4 weeks of daily consumption. These are modest effect sizes and larger human trials are needed, but the biological mechanism is clear and the early clinical data is consistent. Ginger also improves peripheral circulation directly. It has vasodilatory effects. It helps open small blood vessels, increasing blood flow to the extremities. For nerve tissue that depends on capillary blood flow for oxygen and nutrient delivery, this circulatory benefit compounds the anti-inflammatory effect. The critical point here is form. Fresh ginger root contains gingerol concentrations that are significantly higher than dried ginger powder. When ginger is dried, many of the gingerols are converted to shogals, which have different properties. For nerve inflammation specifically, fresh root is meaningfully more potent than the powder in your spice cabinet. Use 1 inch of fresh ginger root daily. Grate it into hot water and steep for 10 minutes as atia. Add it to smoothies, soups, or stir-fries. Cooking does not destroy gingerols. They are heat stable. Daily consistency over weeks is the key variable. Turmeric, specifically its active compound curcumin, takes the top position on the nerve food list, backed by the most extensive research of any natural compound studied in the context of peripheral neuropathy. Curcumin is a polyphenol extracted from the root of Curcuma longa. Its anti-inflammatory properties operate through several well-documented pathways, including inhibition of NF-kappa B and COX-2, reduction of pro-inflammatory cytokines, and meaningful antioxidant activity. What distinguishes curcumin from most anti-inflammatory compounds is its ability to cross what researchers call the blood-nerve barrier, gaining access to the interior of nerve tissue where the actual cellular damage is occurring. The clinical evidence is promising and growing. A randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial found that curcumin supplementation over 2 months measurably reduced the severity of sensorimotor polyneuropathy in patients with type 2 diabetes. A 2025 review published in Diabetology and Metabolic Syndrome, specifically examining curcumin for diabetic neuropathy, concluded that it reduces markers of oxidative stress and inflammatory cytokines while supporting nerve function. A 2025 clinical trial found that oral curcumin significantly reduced the incidence of chemotherapy-induced peripheral neuropathy, one of the first well-controlled human trials to demonstrate a protective effect on nerve fibers. However, none of this matters without addressing curcumin's most significant limitation: bioavailability. Curcumin is poorly absorbed on its own. Most of what you consume is broken down before it reaches your bloodstream. This is why turmeric powder alone, simply sprinkled on food, produces minimal results in most people. The solution is black pepper. Black pepper contains piperine, a compound that inhibits the intestinal enzymes responsible for breaking down curcumin, dramatically increasing its absorption. Consuming curcumin with piperine and a fat source represents the most effective dietary approach available. This combination is not optional. It is the difference between a meaningful nutritional dose and an expensive yellow spice. The science behind turmeric and curcumin is compelling. The implementation is equally important and equally misunderstood. This part is dedicated entirely to making sure you use it correctly. The essential combination is this: 1 to 2 teaspoons of turmeric powder, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and a fat source. All 3 components together, consumed at the same time. The black pepper enables absorption by blocking the enzymes that break curcumin down. The fat acts as a carrier, pulling curcumin through your intestinal wall and into your lymphatic system. Without both, you absorb a fraction of what you consume. The most practical method for daily use is golden milk. Here is how to prepare it. Heat 1 cup of milk. Dairy, coconut, or almond all work, in a small pot over medium heat. Add 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and 1 teaspoon of coconut oil or ghee. Stir well. Heat until warm but not boiling. Add a small amount of honey or cinnamon if desired. Drink it before bed. Timing it before sleep is intentional. Curcumin reaches peak concentration in the bloodstream approximately 4 to 6 hours after consumption. If you drink golden milk in the evening, maximum levels coincide with the overnight hours, which is typically when burning neuropathy symptoms are most severe and most disruptive to sleep. For those who prefer supplements, choose a curcumin formulation that explicitly states enhanced absorption. Look for bioperine or piperine on the label. Aim for 500 to 1,000 milligrams of curcumin daily with a meal containing fat. Standard turmeric capsules without an absorption enhancer are largely ineffective. Here is the 30-day protocol. Begin daily turmeric consumption in whichever form you'll sustain. Before you start, rate your burning or discomfort on a scale of 1 to 10. Write it down. Rate again at 48 hours, 1 week, 2 weeks, and 30 days. Write every number down. Track your sleep quality separately. The written record matters because our memory of how bad symptoms were tends to fade as they improve, and you deserve to see the actual progress. You now have 2 complete frameworks, a ranked circulation drink protocol and a ranked nerve food protocol. This part brings them together into a single, realistic daily plan that most adults over 60 can sustain. Morning. Begin with 8 ounces of pure beetroot juice on an empty stomach. Wait 30 minutes before eating. Do not use antibacterial mouthwash until after this window has passed. This is your primary nitrate load for the day and sets the circulatory tone for the hours ahead. With breakfast, incorporate dark leafy greens, a large handful of spinach or kale, added 2 eggs, a smoothie, or on the side. Take any supplements your doctor has recommended. If your diet is consistently low in vitamin B12, speak with your physician about testing your B12 levels and whether supplementation is appropriate. Midday. Have a small handful of walnuts as a snack or added to a salad, fresh, whole, refrigerator stored. This is your omega-3 and nerve antioxidant contribution for the day. Afternoon. Drink either hibiscus tea or celery juice, whichever you've chosen as your second circulation drink. This adds a second wave of vascular support and keeps your nitric oxide pathway active through the second half of the day. Dinner. Incorporate fresh ginger into your meal. Grate it into a stir-fry, blend it into a sauce, or made into a tea to drink alongside or after dinner. At the end of dinner, use a fat-containing ingredient in the meal. Olive oil is ideal. Evening. Golden milk before bed. 1 teaspoon turmeric, 1/4 teaspoon black pepper, fat source, warm milk. This is your nerve anti-inflammatory overnight dose. Time to peak during your sleep hours when burning symptoms are typically worst. 2 to 3 times per week. Replace your afternoon drink with an arugula smoothie for a higher nitrate boost. This variation prevents routine fatigue and adds additional circulatory support. Track consistently. Adjust with your doctor's guidance. What you're building here is not a week experiment. It is a nutritional environment that supports your vascular and nervous systems every single day. We've covered a great deal of ground together. 20 parts, 2 biological systems, 14 foods and drinks, hundreds of published studies condensed into a practical, usable framework. Before I close this series, I want to leave you with a few final thoughts, because how you carry this information forward matters as much as the information itself. First, the honest expectation. The protocols in this series are not miracle solutions. They are nutritional foundations. The research supporting them is real, but it shows improvements over weeks and months, not days. The circulation benefits of daily beetroot juice and hibiscus tea build progressively as your vascular system responds. The nerve benefits of turmeric and ginger require consistent daily accumulation of anti-inflammatory compounds in your tissues. If you try any of these for 3 days and feel nothing transformative, that is completely expected. If you commit for 30 days and track your results carefully, you are much more likely to see something meaningful. Second, the importance of the conversation with your doctor. When you speak with your physician, ask for a fasting blood sugar test and a B12 level test. Both are simple blood draws. Ask about your inflammatory markers, specifically CRP. Bring this series to the conversation if that helps. A doctor who knows you are actively supporting your vascular and nerve health through diet is better positioned to help you optimize your overall treatment. Third, the bigger picture. Cold feet, heavy legs, burning sensations at night. These are not simply the inevitable cost of growing older. They are signals. Your body is communicating that something in its internal environment needs support. Diet is one powerful lever. Exercise is another. Sleep quality matters. Stress affects your inflammatory load and your vascular tone in ways that are measurable and real. You are not broken. You are living in a body that is responding to its history, and that body retains more capacity for positive change than most people are ever told. The science in this series is not wishful thinking. It is published, peer-reviewed, and growing every year. Give it the time and consistency it requires. Track your experience, work with your physician, and share this series with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for watching. I'm Dr. Michel Carter, and this has been a genuine privilege to share with you.